you want to know how to price your services without underselling yourself? There are 3 common ways coaches and consultants price their work: hourly, fixed price, and value-based pricing. Most people are familiar with the first 2. Some of you may know about value-based pricing, but very few understand how it can shape the client relationship from day one. Pricing isn't just about getting the dollar amount you charge. It shapes the whole client relationship. There are situations where prospects hesitate because you don't charge enough. Low pricing creates doubt about the value and seriousness of what you offer. Now let's walk through each pricing model and talk about what's really happening under the surface. Hourly pricing usually feels like the most natural place to start, especially if you're coming from a corporate background. You're used to trading time for money. It feels measurable, fair, and when you're unsure how to price yourself, it feels defensible. The problem is that hourly pricing keeps you locked in an employee mindset. After years of experience, you've gotten faster and more efficient at what you do. You can see the problem quicker than others. You know where to look, you know what matters. Should you earn less because you're good at what you do? Well, that's exactly what hourly pricing does. Someone with less experience takes longer and gets paid more. That doesn't make any sense, but it's how the model works. There's also a client dynamic that slowly creeps in. With hourly pricing, the client often focuses on time and tasks instead of outcomes. They start watching the clock. They start wondering how long something should take. You start feeling like you have to explain yourself. It can feel a lot like working under a micromanager. The focus shifts away from results towards activity. Trading time for money caps your income. You can only work so many hours. And before you realize it, you're working 50 or 60 hours a week, and it starts to feel like you built yourself a job. The same job that you left corporate to escape. Now, fixed pricing often feels like the next step up. You're no longer tracking hours, so you're relieved. You agree on a scope, set a price, and move forward. On the surface, it looks cleaner, but emotionally, fixed price introduces a different kind of pressure. The client knows there's a ceiling. You know there's a limit on how much time that you want to invest. That creates quiet friction around the scope. The client naturally tries to get as much value as possible for that fixed price. You naturally try to protect your time and margins. This is where scope creep starts to show up. The client pushes for more deliverables because they know the price is fixed. You're trying to maximize profit by working as few hours as possible. One more request, one more tweak, one more thing that shouldn't take long. That's why deliverables need to be clearly defined up front. What you will complete, what's included, and what's not. It all needs to be spelled out in the agreement to protect both sides from assumptions. Fixed pricing can work, but it still keeps the conversation centered on deliverables rather than outcomes. You're negotiating work instead of impact. This is usually where pricing starts to feel heavy because the value isn't clear. Now, value-based pricing changes the conversation. Instead of anchoring your price to time or task, you anchor it to the problem you're solving and the outcome the work creates for the client. When pricing is tied to outcomes, the question is no longer how long will this take? It becomes, what is it worth to solve the problem? If your work saves the client $200,000 a year, you'd be compensated based on the value of that outcome, not the number of hours it took you to deliver. That shift is what removes most of the tension from pricing conversations. You're not defending your time, you're delivering outcomes. Clients aren't paying for access to you. They're investing in relief from a costly problem. When the problem is real and the cost of not solving it is clear, pricing feels grounded instead of arbitrary. You're not guessing. You're not apologizing. You're not negotiating against yourself before the client even reacts. Now, here's the part that often gets skipped. Value-based pricing doesn't work if you haven't clarified your positioning. Your positioning is who you serve and the problem that you help to solve. Without positioning clarity, pricing conversations are heavy. You hesitate, you talk too much, you lower the number because you're not fully anchored in the value. Now, with clarity, something changes. You're no longer selling yourself. You're helping a client decide whether the outcome is worth the investment. That's a real shift. Value-based pricing is a win-win for you and the client. They get the results, and you get fairly compensated. Now, I work with coaches and consultants who want to be paid for outcomes, not hours. And if you're ready to move out of hourly or fixed pricing without guessing or undercharging, details are in the description.